What would you do if you learned your every thought, action, and whim was being influenced by an outside source?
Well, that is exactly what's happening with propaganda today, and most of the time, we don't even realize it.
Social media has become a standard part of our daily lives, but along with all the good comes some downsides.
More and more, people aren't really thinking for themselves because they take what they see online as the complete truth.
Now, that becomes a problem when it starts to strip us of our individuality and independent thought, and as a result, freedom of speech becomes less and less common.
But not to worry, we're here to help.
I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Eric.
And this is Utopia Debunked, where our goal is to discover, declutter, and debunk. In today's episode, we'll be talking a little bit more about this problem and what you can do to help combat it. We'll start out by discussing propaganda and how it has affected people's thoughts throughout history.
Then, we'll discuss how social media is being used today as a platform for propaganda to be spread by almost anyone.
And later, we'll delve deeper into what exactly is the problem surrounding social media and its use in controlling citizens and what you can do about it. So, a lot of the time nowadays, we see that when we're on whatever social media platform, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, or anything else, we're presented with a lot of information.
It can be news, people's opinions, trends, or an infinite number of other things. But one thing is certain: propaganda is everywhere.
That is so true. And one of the most common places we see propaganda is in politics.
That's right. One of the first things we tend to think about when we hear the word propaganda is World War II, more specifically how it was used by Hitler and the Nazi Party. They used propaganda in order to keep people in line, and to encourage people to help a cause that a lot of people didn't want to stand behind.
Of course! Throughout the war, both sides used propaganda through posters, cartoons, schools, and more to promote their side and get the citizens more on board with the war. One example of propaganda the United States used to encourage men to enlist was the "We Want You" poster, with Uncle Sam pointing through the poster. This was used almost as a guilt trip tactic to quote-unquote encourage men to enlist by telling them if they really loved their country and if they were real men, that they would enlist.
Even the posters telling everyone to do their part by donating scrap metal to create ammunition for the soldiers were a form of propaganda, telling citizens that everyone needed to do their part in the war.
Pilots would even fly over towns of their enemies, and instead of dropping bombs, they would drop pamphlets of propaganda supporting their country.
Right, and even though there were plenty of citizens in Germany, the United States, and other countries that didn't agree with the tactics of war or the things that were going on, the government's propaganda made certain that any naysayers were silenced, and their opinions not heard.
Now, propaganda has always been there. However, its face has changed throughout the years. Although it started as sample posters, it soon evolved into pamphlets, newspaper ads, and even mail. Then, when the internet was made, it slowly evolved into advertisements online. Even politicians today use forms of propaganda to boost their campaigns.
Exactly. Just like Hitler used propaganda to keep people in line and to target people with scare tactics, telling them that his way was the way, many world leaders use similar propaganda tactics, albeit slightly less extreme, in order to stay in control today. This can take form of things such as attack ads on the radio, online, or on TV. Politicians use attack ads as a form of propaganda to convince the people that their way and their plan is the best. Even if it is taking a different form, this is still propaganda. One specific example that we can think of that's a more recognizable form of modern propaganda is Brexit.
While Brexit was an ongoing affair, it was common for people who got a vote but didn't necessarily know the economy very well and who also wanted to be informed to go to economists to get informed. Economists who were for Brexit would project good numbers for the future, whereas economists that were against Brexit would project low numbers when these people came to them. By promoting their own agenda and goal of Brexit going through or not, this can be recognized and considered as a form of propaganda. This strategic disinformation was not only used by economists during Brexit, but even opposing sides to try and spread false information about the other side via social media.
What's so interesting about this is that because of advancements in technology, creating propaganda and influencing others has never been easier, even for people outside the government, such as propaganda driven by corporations or consumerism.
Right, so this is where social media propaganda comes into play, and although it can be hard to recognize, it is one of the most common ways we see propaganda today.
Teens today are bombarded with more information than ever before online and via social media, and it can be challenging to separate what's true from what isn't.
You know, Eric, last time I looked at my screen hours on my phone, I'd spent an average of 7 hours a day online. That's longer than the school day.
Looking at what your friend posted yesterday, the latest TikTok trend, news, and more, it all creates an impression on us and affects the way we think and see the world.
This provides the perfect opportunity for companies, governments, or even people to influence the way we think while we're none the wiser.
Elizabeth, I spend hours every day on social media, but I don't feel like my ideas are being changed by others. How would propaganda even be used through social media to influence what I think?
Well, there are many ways you can be influenced through social media. One example is targeted ads.
That's when you're shown ads based off what brands know you like, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Advertising and propaganda are different, but they can be used together to influence your opinions, political views, and even what you buy.
Advertisements can use my desires to make something seem more appealing to me, but propaganda is used by those advertisers to influence what I actually see as desirable.
Exactly. You are influenced to see certain things, people, experiences, feelings, or any multitude of other things as desirable. Then, once what you like is tracked, you're shown ads which feed into that desire, making you want to purchase something.
That's crazy, but I still have a question. How are companies able to influence what I like in the first place?
That's where propaganda works together with social media. Companies or other people with influence use your emotions to make you like or dislike something to their benefit. They can do this through ads.
Wait, ads that make you like other ads?
Yeah, but also through public relations, sponsorships by well-known people, and much more.
So things like seeing people you look up to using a certain product or doing a certain activity can change how you think of that product or activity?
Yep. Propaganda in advertising can also look like testimonials, using fear, seeing people like you thinking a certain way, or any other thing.
Interesting. And all this must relate to what we watch online, too.
How so?
Well, everybody today is in their own media bubble. Like targeted ads, social media algorithms keep track of what topics you like more than others, and slowly show you more and more things that you'll probably find interesting.
But isn't that a good thing? It makes social media so much more enjoyable when I get to watch videos that I'm actually interested in. Like how everyone sees different things on TikTok, it shows me Marvel videos, which I love, but not all my friends would like them as much. And you get to watch all your travel videos, but I don't want to see them.
That's a good point. It can be fun to see videos and posts that you're interested in. That's why social media is liked by so many people. But you have to be careful. It's innocent when you're watching a cat video, but companies and organizations can use it for their own good. That's part of how targeted ads know what you like.
Exactly. And it gets worse. More and more people are using social media as their main news source. And if you're only ever shown ideas you already agree with, it becomes hard to change your mind.
If you're only shown one side of the story all the time, of course you'll think it's true.
And eventually, you just take the information for granted and no longer think for yourself. If you don't see different opinions, how are you supposed to figure out what you really think?
That's like when a particular subject becomes trendy and then everybody is posting about it. Even if it's something worth sharing, it feels like you're not able to have a different opinion, and if you do, then it's wrong. Sometimes I don't even know what to think.
Well, this is a huge problem. What can we do to help stop it, or at least to make it less effective against us?
That's a great question. Answers coming up after the break.
Now that we know what the problem is, we need to work on a solution.
One big thing we can do is learn how to recognize propaganda in our everyday lives.
We can do this by making sure we stay inquisitive about the world around us and always questioning the information we are given.
Don't assume the first thing you see is the truth. If you see an ad or information about a political leader, news, or something else that's going on in the world on Instagram or any other platform, always be sure to double and triple check that information before taking it as the truth. By doing this, you're ensuring that your thought is your own.
And finally, it is important to be open to opinions different from your own, and try not to judge people for their opinions, as long as they don't harm people. No opinion is really wrong. Take the recent presidential election in the United States, for example. There were many rumors circulating social media about both candidates, and many people would take what they were seeing as the complete truth, without bothering to look into the context of certain situations. However, this could be avoided by using the method we previously mentioned, and by making sure you do your research before simply going along with the majority. Wow, that was quite the episode. We sure did cover a lot.
Right, but the important thing to remember is that propaganda has been here for a long time. It's constantly evolving, and it's not going anywhere.
This is why, by learning to recognize it, we can in turn do something about it to ensure that we continue to learn and think for ourselves, and that individuality and differences in actions and opinions are promoted instead of being contained by the majority.
Exactly. This has been Utopia Debunked, and we hope to catch you next time when we continue to
discover, declutter, and debunk.